Hello everyone, it's Shannon here. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we are going to create a couple of cards with the brilliantly designed Caring Hands stamps and dies from Waffle Flower Crafts. I'm going to start with the Caring Hands combo. This set comes with this beautiful stamp set with all these gorgeous hands in different positions. And in the back, you get the matching dies if you get the combo. I'm going to start with a pair of hands from this set. I'm just going to position them here on some white cardstock and stamp them in Memento Tuxedo Black. This is a Copic friendly ink because I am going to do some Copic coloring. So now that I've stamped my hands, I'm going to start with my Copics. My light shade first here is E30. I'm just going to color the whole hand with that light shade first. After I get kind of that base down, then I'll move on to my darker shade, which is E31. And I'm just going to add a shadow to the underside of the fingers, the palm, and the wrist. Once I finish that, I'll then move on to E30 to kind of blend it out, and now I'm back at E31 just to kind of darken the shadow just a tiny bit more. I repeated that for the second hand, and now I'm going to move on and color another pair of hands in a different skin tone, starting with E13. This is my lighter shade for these hands. Once I kind of color the whole hand with that E13, then I'll move on to my darker shade, which is E39. Again, adding that shadow to the underside of the fingers, palm, and wrist. After I finish that, I'll then blend it all out with E13. This is a pretty big jump between these two colors, so I did require a little bit more blending. And then I will finish by just doing the same process for the second hand. So I went ahead and die cut all my hands out with the matching dies, and I also die cut a bunch of hearts, 5 little ones and 2 larger ones with the matching die set. I die cut one of my small hearts and one of my large hearts out of that same leftover scrap that I stamped the hands in, and I'm going to use that scrap as a jig so I can stamp a lot of these hearts quickly. So I'm going to use 2 hearts from the Caring Hands sentiment stamp set, and I've positioned them inside the opening of my jig here. So that smaller heart inside the smaller heart opening and the larger one in the larger one. Then I'll just pick them up with my MISTI, and then I can pop in those die cuts that I die cut earlier into the negative space, into the jig, and this will just make the stamping of these hearts go a lot faster. I'm going to stamp all the hearts in 2 tones. For this first heart in pink, I stamped it first in Worn Lipstick. Now moving on to a darker shade, Picked Raspberry, and I'm just partial inking, just inking up the bottom half of the heart with this Picked Raspberry. And that's going to add a little gradation and kind of give this heart a little bit more shape and depth. So now that I've stamped that heart, I'm going to grab one of the larger hearts and move on to a different pair of distress inks. This is going to be a red heart, and I'm starting first with Festive Berries. Again, going to stamp it, and I do kind of stamp this a couple times just to get a nice clean and crisp impression. After I stamped it in Festive Berries, I did the partial inking again, this time with Barn Door, to again kind of create a little gradation over that heart, and it just kind of gives that heart a little bit more shape and volume. So now that I'm done with those hearts, I'm going to kind of speed up this process and do my remaining hearts. For the small heart here, I did a combo of oranges, carved pumpkin, and then ripe persimmon. Now I'm going back to another large heart. This is going to be yellow, first in squeezed lemon and then partial inked in mustard seed. My next heart is small. This is going to be twisted citron and mowed lawn. Then another small heart. Actually, all my hearts remaining are small. This one is a blue one, so I started with Tumbled Glass and then Mermaid Lagoon. And then my final small heart is kind of my purple combo. Started with shaded lilac and then finished with wilted violet for that kind of shadow. So here are all my rainbow hearts done and ready to add onto my card. Now I'm going to ink blend with this beautiful Sunburst stencil from Waffle Flower Crafts to kind of make a really simple tone-on-tone background. I'm going to ink blend over the stencil with Tumbled Glass Distress ink, and I'm going to do a little gradation. So I start at the center, and I want it to kind of fade out as it gets towards the edges, just kind of create this nice focal point. So I'm giving more heavy-handed in the center and kind of lightening my pressure as I move out. So a real simple background. Now I'm going to pop this panel into my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment from that Caring Hands sentiment stamp set, inking it up in Memento Tuxedo Black, and then I'll stamp it onto the front. Now that I've stamped the sentiment, I have everything ready to bring this card together. I'm going to first adhere this blue panel down onto an A2 top folding white card base. Now this panel is a little bit smaller than an A2 card front. It's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and that leaves a nice white border from the card base. base. I'm now going to adhere my hands and all my hearts. I did already adhere some scraps of white craft foam to the backside of all of these. I like to save my scraps of craft foam. They're just really handy to have, and it's nice to kind of use them up instead of always reaching for the foam adhesive, which is definitely handy, but this is a good way to be a little bit greener and a little bit more economical. So now that I've glued all those down, my card is complete. I'll now hold it to the camera so you can get a good look at this clean and simple card. I really love these carrying hands. I think they are so beautiful and graphic, and I just love hands. I think they're a great way to kind of almost add like a personal touch to your card. There's something personal about hands. I hope you guys enjoyed today's cards and video. If you have any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. And if you like this video, I'd so appreciate it if you consider subscribing to my channel and leaving me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.